In this video, we're going to be talking about current USCIS processing times for applications and petitions. So make sure you stick around to find out how long it could take to get an answer on your case. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. As we are in the midst of holiday season, I wanted to bring you some updates regarding the processing times for USCIS applications and petitions. Of course, due to the holiday season, we are seeing some more delays. Processing times have increased. We are seeing delays in the issuance of receipt notices as well. So I wanted to go over some of the major applications and the processing times depending on the service center in which they are being adjudicated to give you some of the numbers that we are now seeing. Before we get started, if this is your first time here, make sure you are subscribed, join the D'Angelo Law family, hit that bell button as well to turn on your post notifications so you can be notified each and every time I have a video for you. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up so YouTube knows to spread it throughout the platform so everyone can stay informed as well. Okay, so let's jump right in. In my last video, I touched on the fact that we have seen a delay in the issuance of receipt notices once you have submitted and filed your case with USCIS. Usually it would take about 2 to 3 weeks for USCIS to process the payment and issue the receipt notice so you would have proof of filing your application. However, we are seeing substantial delays in that department. It is taking 6 weeks and even longer to receive those receipt notices for the cases you have just submitted. As I mentioned in the previous video, it's attributed to numerous factors. However, just be aware that if you have submitted your case in the last month and a half, and you have yet to receive a receipt notice or just see that your check was cashed, USCIS is experiencing substantial delays with processing the applications, putting them into the computer, and mailing you out your receipt notice. So I would like everyone to just be aware of that fact. With respect to processing times, we are seeing substantial delays as well with USCIS processing times for applications and petitions across the board. We see this every year during the holidays, vacation time, taking time off. Also, we're dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic as well, so this has contributed to the substantial delays in processing times as well. USCIS posts their processing times on their website for each application and also shows the processing time for each service center that is adjudicating those cases. So you have the ability to periodically check USCIS's website to see how long your applications are taking to receive a decision on them. These processing times also dictate whether or not you can, so to speak, complain about how long your case is taking. If you were to contact USCIS, the processing times depicted on their website would actually dictate whether the officer could submit a case inquiry or service request on your behalf regarding your case. If your case has not been pending longer than the posted processing time, then they will not submit a case inquiry on your behalf. If your case has been pending longer than the posted processing times on their website, then the customer service representative will be able to submit a case inquiry on your behalf regarding the status of your case. So let's take a look at the current processing times posted on USCIS's website. Let's take a look at the I-129F petition for alien fiancé processing time at the Vermont Service Center. Currently, their processing time is posted as 18.5 to 24 months. This is a very, very long time. Earlier on in this year, it was taking USCIS only several months to render a decision on the petition for alien fiancé. You would have essentially received a decision in approximately 4 to 6 months, maybe even sooner. Now, this processing time can go down in the future, but essentially, right now, if your I-129F has not been pending for more than 2 years, here, if it hasn't been filed before December 17th, 2018, you are unable to submit a case inquiry at this moment. All right, let's take a look at the Form I-90 at the Potomac Service Center. They break it down into 2 form types. If it's your 10-year renewal, the processing time is 4.5 months to 8.5 months. and the initial issuance or replacement is 10 months to 18 months. Now let's take a look at the I-130 petition for alien relative. Now this form can be adjudicated at several service centers, so I've pulled the processing times for each service center. Let's take a look at the Nebraska Service Center first. Here we see about 7 or 7.5 months to 9.5 months across the board, no matter the preference category. That seems pretty standard. If we look at the processing times for the Potomac Service Center, they're a little bit different. For a permanent resident filing for a spouse or a child under 21, the estimated time range is between 1 week and 7 months. Same thing with permanent resident filing for an unmarried son or daughter over 21, 1 week to 7 months as well. And then the rest of the categories we see 11 months to 14.5 months. If we look at the Texas Service Center, it's pretty similar, except the other categories are 7.5 months to 9.5 months, so a little bit quicker than the Potomac Service Center. Now here's where things get a little bit alarming. If we take a look at the California Service Center, we see much larger processing times across the board, and a lot of the I-130s actually get adjudicated at the California Service Center. So it's very likely that your case is pending at the California Service Center. Here we see 15.5 months to 20 months, 14 to 18.5. The U.S. citizen filing for an unmarried son or daughter, it's 45 months to 58.5 months. Jump down, 58 to 75.5 months for a permanent resident filing for an unmarried son or daughter over 21, 98 months to 127.5 months for a U.S. citizen filed for a married son or daughter over 21, and 111.5 months to 145 months for a U.S. citizen filing for a brother or sister. These processing times are extremely frustrating because essentially what you're saying is that unless your case has been pending for over 12 years, for example, you can't submit a case inquiry into the status of your case. All right, let's talk about the I-485 application for adjustment of status or registering your permanent residence. Let's take a look at the Texas Service Center. So it breaks it down based on the form type, the category that you're filing your adjustment of status. So for employment-based adjustment of status applications, it's 11.5 months to 26.5 months. But if it's based on granting of asylum, then it's 18 months to 43.5 months. Let's take a look at the Nebraska Service Center. For employment-based adjustment of status applications, it's 11.5 months to 26.5. The processing time for the California Service Center is 11.5 months to 26.5 months. Let's quickly take a look at the processing times for the I-140 immigrant petition for alien worker at the Texas Service Center. Here they break down the processing times based on your employment preference category. So you have extraordinary ability, which is 14.5 to 19 months if you file without premium processing. So if you pay the extra fee of $2,500 and you file it with premium, the processing time is actually 15 days. However, if you file without premium, your estimated time range at the Texas Service Center is 14.5 months to 19 months. So it is absolutely worth it to file it with premium processing. For the other preference categories, you're looking at about 5.5 to 7.5 months, 15 to 19.5 months for unskilled workers, and for those requesting a national interest waiver, it is 14 months to 18 months. At the Nebraska Service Center, we see across the board about 5.5 months to 7.5 months, or 6.5 to 8.5 months if you're asking for a national interest waiver. So things are moving a little bit more quickly at the Nebraska Service Center. Let's take a look at the processing time for the I-131 application for travel document. At the Vermont Service Center, it's 4 to 6 months. At the National Benefit Center, it's 5.5 to 7.5 months. At the Texas Service Center, it's 3 weeks to 5 months. For California, it's 5.5 to 7.5 months. And Nebraska, it's taking a little bit longer, 6 to 8 months, and 3.5 to 5.5 months, depending on the category of filing. Now, let's take a look at the I-765 application for employment authorization. The National Benefit Center is taking 5 months to 7 months. Nebraska Service Center as well, 5 to 7 months, or 5.5 to 7.5 months. Potomac Service Center is taking 3.5 to 5.5 months, so that's a little bit better. Even better is the Texas Service Center, which is taking 1.5 to 3.5 months. But the Vermont Service Center is taking a very long time. It can either be 4.5 to 6.5 months, or depending on the form type, it could be all the way up to 14.5 months. For those filing the I-751 petition to remove conditions on their permanent residence, the processing time at the Vermont Service Center currently is about 10 to 16 months. So keep that in mind when it comes time to remove the conditions of your conditional permanent resident. It will likely take a long time to receive the 10-year green card once your conditions are removed. Lastly, I wanted to briefly touch on the application for naturalization, the N-400. Now, USCIS's website has the processing times depending on the local field office that is adjudicating your application for naturalization. So the local field office next to your home and your zip code, they have the processing times for each of those. I pulled up the processing time for the Miami field office, which historically has been one of the longest, if not the longest, processing times in the country for applications for naturalizations, and currently it's at 8.5 months to 18.5 months. So we are seeing a substantial delay in processing there as well. So I hope you found this video helpful regarding an update with respect to the current USCIS processing times during this holiday season. I will put in the description below a link to the website where you can find the processing times for USCIS applications and petitions. So make sure you check that out, select the appropriate form number and the appropriate service center adjudicating your case so you can see for yourself the processing time for your case. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up so YouTube knows to spread it throughout the platform. Also, make sure you are subscribed, turn your post notifications on so you can be notified each and every time I have an update for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.